you a songwriter? Are you looking to turn your songwriting passion into a full-time gig? Whether you are just at the start of your songwriting journey or a seasoned industry professional, this show is made for you. Welcome to The Songwriter Show, bringing together songwriting news, interviews, and community. Now, welcome your host, Sarantos.
Welcome back to The Songwriter Show. I'm your host, Sarantos, a solo artist and songwriter who has always believed in the power of words. Here on The Songwriter Show, we bring you behind the scenes with some of today's most inspiring songwriters, giving you a glimpse into the stories that shape their songs. Tonight, I'm so happy to have on the show James Netterwald. He's an independent artist and songwriter from Hazlitt, New Jersey. He's been writing songs for more than 30 years. His songwriting style is personal and narrative and is based on events in his personal life, including past and present relationships, his struggles with bipolar disorder, as well as his myriad hobbies and interests. James writes for the indie, rock, and folk genres.
And now, welcome this week's special guest.
Welcome to the show. How you doing, James?
Thank you so much for having me, Sarantos. I appreciate the opportunity.
You're welcome. So let's have some fun. I read your bio, and it's a little interesting. The first thing they think about when they think of you and they listen to your music, what do you want it to be?
So for me, a large part of the music I write, as I mentioned in my bio, is discussing issues with mental health. So as I mentioned too, I have bipolar disorder, and I'm a huge advocate for, addressing mental health issues. And a lot of times I write about mental health issues in my music, including things like, some of the even psychological terms that are used in the mental health practice, like talking about, diagnoses and therapy and the problems, the symptoms that go along with it. And I've been doing that for about 30 years. It started out when I was in college, just writing mostly as a hobby for the most part, but I kind of made my songs public 2 years ago. Started utilizing TuneCore as a distribution channel to get my songs on streaming platforms and kind of get them out there, because for a long time I didn't really share this. I didn't share my music, and it was mainly just a private thing, but I feel like I could do some good with my music, and that's really why I started releasing records.
Do you have any main themes in your songs?
Yeah, like I said, it's, mental health. I also write songs about my hobbies and, like, for example, painting. I started painting a few years ago as well, and I just find it, to be totally relaxing and allow me to focus, and it kind of helps with my anxiety as well. So, I write about, terminology in painting, for example, like, I wrote this song recently called With This Brush, and I kind of go through all these like metaphors of life, in the eyes of a painter. So I try to just kind of include a lot of aspects in my life in my songs. And those are my themes.
Yeah. Okay. I gotcha. Do you play any instruments?
I play multiple instruments. I started out on a guitar, and at one time I did have a band co-writing songs with me, but for the most part I've been a solo artist, and I record all of my music in my home studio. So I'm like a one-man band. I have to play all the instruments on the songs, doing all the arrangements and the production and engineering myself, as well as promotion. So that, I'm kind of like the consummate indie artist in that respect.
Yeah, and that's good and bad, right?
Yeah, I wish that I did have, a big PR machine helping to push my music, but it is what it is.
I think I was a little more jaded in the beginning too, thinking, oh man, if only someone could put 2 million into one of my songs, it'd be a hit. But I think I've just kind of learned to roll with it and just focus on what you can control.
Yep.
There's just no sense bitching or complaining about the stuff that just isn't going to change. So you just do the best you can. Yeah,
exactly. And there are a lot of advantages to being an indie artist too. Like, you have total control over the content of your songs, whether or not you want to release a song. You try to put your best foot forward, when you're releasing music and sharing it with the world.
Yeah, absolutely. So how do you write music? How do you write songs? What gets you going with that regard?
So usually I start out with lyrics because I'm definitely more of a lyricist than a musician. Like, I consider myself a poet. I try to include a lot of kind of, poetic schemes in the writing. Like, I'm usually inspired, as I said, by like events in my life, and I'll put together lyrics based on that, and then try to come up with a melody to fit behind that, and then, build the music around it, around that melody.
And how do you decide if something is going to see the light of day or if you're just going to kill something that's not good enough? Do you have confidants? Is it just you? Like, how do you figure that out? Do you review things?
Most of the time I made the decision on my own. And yeah, I mean, it's just, I feel like if something's even just a good idea musically, if it's interesting musically, I'll put it out, even if the lyrics kind of pale in comparison. And then I have other times where the lyrics are the strongest part of the song, and I'll try to, simplify the music as best I can, to try to fit the lyrics without overshadowing them.
Yeah, I hear you. Okay. So tell us a little bit about any exciting things in the works for you.
Well, right now I'm working on an album project. It's been like 2 years in the making for me. About halfway done with it. The title of the album is going to be Awakening, and the inspiration is a bad breakup that I had 2 years ago. And kind of I got like really wrapped up in this relationship, and I kind of, after the relationship ended, I really had to find myself again, and what I wanted out of life. And the theme Awakening just kind of popped out of that, out of the ashes of this relationship. All the songs are personal, like my other stuff, but, trying to add more of a positive spin on, themes of like hope and things like that, sort of are populating my songs nowadays based on this theme.
Tell us a little bit about anyone in your family musical. Were you inspired by them at all?
Yeah, well, I learned how to play guitar by my Uncle Ed. This was years ago, over 30 years ago now. Started out, just strumming on acoustic guitar. He would teach me, cover songs and things like that. And kind of started to, as I adapted more and more cover songs, over the years, I kind of started taking themes from those songs, chord progressions, things like that, and started building into my own songs. And then I also have another uncle, Joe, who was like my mentor for recording. He owned a small recording studio in my hometown, Bayonne, New Jersey. And he taught me how to record, my own music. So yeah, I definitely owe a big thanks to them.
Do you teach music at all or not really?
No, I don't. No.
Tell us a little bit about what you were like when you were in high school.
When I was in high school, yeah, I mean, I was kind of awkward, and, definitely.
Well, I have to stop you right there. None of us are awkward in high school, are we?
Well,
I mean, yeah, I was not like the biggest nerd you've ever seen that was shy and awkward and.
Yeah, being totally transparent, and
Yeah.
I had those times where, I had bouts of depression when I was in high school, and it kind of fueled, my songwriting, because at first I wrote it, definitely as a form of therapy, more so than, anything that I was going to put out musically. But then, as time went on, I started to build, more confidence in myself and start to, put together more records.
How about this song that we're going to hear from you? What inspired it?
So the song is I Don't Even Want to Know, and it was inspired looking at myself introspectively through the eyes of another person, actually. So, like, there was this person I worked with in a part-time job when I was in college, and the song's actually about how I felt kind of self-conscious about the fact that I was still in college after like 4 years of being there. I hadn't graduated yet. I eventually did graduate. But, the person I was talking to was this other woman who was like a manager where I worked. And she was like, "Oh, I didn't know you were still in college. I thought you were done," kind of thing. And I was like, yeah, I'm still in school. And so, the conversation made me feel self-conscious. And then I kind of drew inward and started to think about, how other people were perceiving me. And that's kind of what it went into the imagery of the song.
All right, I'll tell you what, let's take a listen and we'll come back and talk some more, okay?
Sure.
All right, everybody, check this out. Here we go.
Dark clouds in my skies. Failure's inevitable, she says, but I see through her disguise. I guess she thought me a fool, that I believe in all her lies. What are you doing in school, she says, has no confidence in me, dies. And I say, I don't even wanna know what she tells me anyway. I know she does, 'cause she's not myself. She had every right, but I thought that she was wrong. Tell me what was straight ahead. Yeah. Oh, I guess I should have been strong, yeah. I don't even wanna know, but she tells me anyway. I don't even wanna know that the day's the same as yesterday.
Well, thank you for sharing that song with us.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for playing it.
You're welcome. Do you prefer analog or digital recording, James?
Well, I've done both. And, I originally started out recording on a cassette multi-track player. I still own it, and I still use it on occasion when I want like tape effects in my music. So that was my introduction to analog. And then after must have been about 10 or 12 years using analog, then I went digital. And I started using a hard disk recorder, 8-track hard disk, to record my stuff. And there's something to be said about analog tape. It really creates a warmer sound than digital, in my opinion. With digital, you don't get kind of these tape artifacts, and the little hiss that kind of, sometimes makes a track sound more human, Sometimes digital kind of takes that away.
Has a fan ever interpreted one of your songs differently than you intended?
Oh, yeah, definitely. There's one song I wrote, same album as, I don't even want to know, this song that I wrote, Dear Therapist. And a lot of people listen to it. And it's a very personal song about my diagnosis with bipolar and kind of how, I related to my therapist based on this diagnosis. And, a lot of people thought the song is kind of almost whimsical. It's very bright. The guitar chords are very bright and melody's very bright. And it sounds like a happy-go-lucky song. So people thought, wow, this must just be a joke song. He's writing about his diagnosis. Is he like serious about this or is he not? And I was like, well, yeah, it's a serious song. Although, a lot of my melodies are kind of campy, like Beatlesque, I'm a big fan of the Beatles. A lot of people kind of misinterpret the message in the song based on, how campy it sounds or how campy the melody sounds.
Tell us about, you've gone through these mental health issues. Do you think people can relate to that? Do you think it helps you make a difference to someone like that?
I think it does. I know some people in particular fans that I've had, on Facebook that have said, wow, your songs are very raw and, really talk about the issues with mental health that most people don't cover. Like either people kind of hide it in their songs, or it's, masked by, metaphors they use in their lyrics. But, I have to come right out and say it, and because that's just my style of writing. It's always been that way. And, I hope that I'm making a difference in someone's life by expressing myself that way,
Yeah. Do you have a favorite 90s jam?
Oh, yeah. Definitely Third Eye Blind's Semi-Charmed Life. That's definitely one of my favorites from that song, from that era. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a cool song, man. All right, so who's your favorite superhero?
Yeah, it's a hard question. I guess probably Superman.
Superman, okay, why?
Because he shows his vulnerability.
So I assume then a fight between Superman and anybody in the Marvel universe would not be fair, right?
I don't think so. I mean, I think Superman has a lot of resilience.
Yeah, okay. All right. Do you have any surprising hobbies that nobody would know about you?
Yeah, I have a lot of hobbies. Yeah, I guess, like I said, one of the newest ones is painting. And up until 2 years ago, I'd never even thought about, picking up a paintbrush or creating any kind of visual art, but I kind of inherited some, visual art talent from my father, who was a really good artist. It never came to fruition until I picked up a paintbrush, because I was like, I always felt like, oh man, I can't draw anything. Like I was lucky I could draw like stick figures in art class when I was in school, so like picking up a paintbrush and actually creating something that looks, somewhat realistic is, that was definitely a treat. Surprising.
If you had a theme song that played every single time you walked in a room, what would it be?
Maybe Welcome to the Jungle.
All right, man. That's cool. What fictional musician do you wish was real?
Fictional musician. I think I'm gonna have to pass on that one. I don't have a good answer for that.
Okay. All right. So, second to last question. What's the most adventurous food you've ever tried?
Indian.
Any specific dish, like butter chicken, or what? What's the dish that?
Well, when I was in grad school, some of the Indian doctors that were there working in the lab with me brought in samosas for a party that we had, and I tried them. I had never tried Indian food before at that point. And I tried them. I was like, oh my God, these are so delicious. However, I have some stomach issues. So I did end up getting sick, and I was like, I regret trying them. But, for that reason, but not for the taste. They were definitely very good. So
yeah. All right, man. Well, last question of the night. Tell us where people can buy your stuff, stream it. Where can they find you?
So they could buy it on Bandcamp, but I'm streaming on pretty much every single, platform you could think of, including iTunes, Apple Music, Amazon Music, Spotify, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. It's on every one of them. Even some that are not as well known. Like was there one? Forgot. Well, Pandora is one of them. Still on as well. Yeah, pretty much anyone you could think. I mean, people could just Google my name and they'll find pretty much wherever my music is.
Okay, awesome. I want to thank you so much, James, for being on the show tonight. It was a blast.
Thanks so much, Sarantos. Take care. Have a good night.
You're welcome, man. Thank you to the fans out there for tuning in tonight. If you're also a songwriter with a story to share, we'd love to hear from you. Head over to songwritershow.com. To all the loyal listeners out there, I hope this episode has inspired you to explore your own stories through music. My name is Sarantos. It's been a pleasure having you with us. Please join us every single Tuesday evening to hear from amazing artists around the world. Till then, keep creating and keep sharing because every story deserves to be heard. I love you all. Have a great night. You're knockout and bulletproof, and who am I to argue that DNA looks good on you? Every rainbow smiles down on you. I can't believe you're holding my hand, that you picked me to be your man. There's nothing you can't do, nothing's impossible.
impossible for you. We're 4 ears but only one mouth. I'm always full of doubt. We both miss the man I used to be. We both know you're not nice to me. But I'm just glad I met you. Why'd you do that? It's 'cause you can. Girls that look like you do what they wanna do, play with any man. But it's the eyes. You're so easy on the eyes. I'm lost in a sea of noise. Don't feel like I have a choice. In the night I'm the sad boyfriend, but in the day hope this will never end. Your eyes always bring me back, push us gently on track. They matter more than you think. They lift me up, it's all instinct. We're 4 ears but only one mouth. I'm always full of doubt. We both miss the man I used to be. We both know you're not nice to me. But I'm just glad I met you. Why'd you do that? It's 'cause you can. Girls that look like you do what they wanna do, play with any man. But it's the eyes. You're so easy on the eyes. Your Powerball ticket I never had a chance to cash in, but now that I've got you, I'm gonna do anything I can to keep you. Anything I can to keep you. Anything I can. I'm just glad I met you. Why'd you do that? It's 'cause you can. Girls that look like you do what they wanna do, play with any man. But it's the eyes. You're so easy on the eyes.
Thank you for listening to The Songwriter Show. To keep the momentum going, head over to www.songwritershow.com and join our free music community of artists, songwriters, and producers. That's www.songwritershow.com.